You can see how it just lights up the whole room. There's that bubbling reaction I was telling you about there when it hits the ice. Flash there. You can see just how fluid this lava is as well. And when lava is this fluid in nature, when it comes to the edge of a mountainside and goes over that edge, the wind can get a chance to catch it. And you get these lovely features called pellet hairs. So I'll make a few of these for you right now. These are pellet hairs. They're super fine strands of lava. They cool very quickly in the air to form these lovely glassy threads. And geologists absolutely love finding these. Because they're actually quite hard to come by in nature. Because they're so fragile, they tend to get broken apart and get blown away by the wind very easily. So that's why the geologists love them. Farmers here in Iceland, on the other hand, they're not quite so keen on these. Because those glassy fibres, they get into the grass that the animals eat. That messes up their stomachs. So that's why in Icelandic, they've actually got a different name. They're actually called Nornahaur in Icelandic, and that means witches' hairs. All right. So you can see the flow of lava has kind of largely stopped on the surface, at least. But you can see there's actually still molten lava flowing out from underneath all of that. I'll come back to that point in a while. But right now, I've got a big block of ice down here. Do you want to see what happens when we stick ice on the lava? Yeah. Yes, of course you do. Stupid question. All right, so I'll just drop this on here. Apply some pressure. And hopefully we should see fairly quickly what starts happening. So some of the steam escapes up the way, but some is getting pushed down into that lava.
Oh, yeah.
And it's actually causing the lava to inflate. Might be a little difficult to see that upstairs. But you see the whole surface of the pool is just rising up, it's like it's breathing.
Yeah. Oh.
And you can see that where the ice has been, we've got this lovely solid crust forming there.
Wow.
Oh, we're going to get a bubble. Here we go.
Whoa. Wow.
Wow. Nice. So you can see it's even where the ice hasn't been, down at the front here, for example, it's already crusting over there as well. But don't be fooled by that. If I get underneath this front edge of it,
Wow.
Wow.
flip that over, you can see just how molten that is still on the underside of that. Now, did you feel that wave of heat hitting you when I flipped it?
Yeah.
Yeah? So that's happening because lava is actually an incredibly good insulator. It's quite surprising actually. It actually doesn't transfer heat well through itself at all. So once it forms a crust like that on the surface, it'll keep the material underneath the crust really hot for a really long time. And you can see the stuff that just flowed out there. If I kind of get back into here with my pole, I can actually still get pellets here out of that. And not only that, but you can see the difference in the colour. So the really hot stuff that I'm getting from underneath is kind of very bright yellow, almost white. But that, of course, as it begins to cool, kind of fades more into the orange and eventually kind of into the black kind of zone of things. And also, if I just kind of drag the pole over the lava that flowed out there, you see it's actually kind of forming a skin now on the surface that I can drag along with the pole. Okay? Now that's actually responsible for these formations. You see these ripples on the slide here? So that's got a technical name. They call it ropey texture or ropey pahoihoi. And you get this happening when you've had lava flowing like this and it's forming that skin on the surface, but the hot lava underneath it, like you saw at the beginning there, keeps on going and it drags that skin along behind. And when that skin fully solidifies, then the ripples just get locked in place. You can see then the direction that the lava was flowing in. You see this all over the place actually if you keep your eyes open. There's a really good one. If you go to Thingvellir National Park, there's a lookout point there. If you stand at the lookout point, on the ground beside you there's bare rock, and you can see these lovely ropey strands of lava there. That's ropey texture or ropey pahoihoi, which is just fun to say, quite honestly. So you can see we've got a lovely solid crust there on the surface, even down here where I flipped it a few seconds ago, already crusting over there. But of course, if I get again underneath all of that, you can see that stuff in there is actually still quite liquid. And that's going to be true all the way up through here, which means that I can actually get under this and gently does it. I can actually pry up the whole stream of lava like so. Form a kind of bridge out of it. That can allow some of that liquid lava on the inside to flow down. I'm going to see if I can pop a hole in the back and release some of that. I think it might be a little bit too late actually. You can see that kind of toffee-like lava in the back there. So I can at least explain lava tunnels even if we don't get one forming here. But you can see how that's holding its own shape quite nicely now. Alright, now one thing I'm going to begin doing right now is begin clipping some guards onto the upper section of the slide here. I'll explain why. So we're pouring this lava onto a steel slide, and that steel rapidly expands with the heat as soon as the lava hits it. But of course the lava itself, it's actually coming down in temperature, so it's contracting. And then when the slide begins to contract as well, when it starts to cool, that puts a lot of pressure on the lava. And anytime you get pressurized lava, it doesn't matter whether it's here in the showroom or out in nature, the same thing is going to happen. It's going to relieve that pressure by popping and cracking. So you are going to hear, as the show goes on, a lot of possibly very loud cracks, bangs and pops coming from the slide behind me here. So don't worry about that. It might be startling, but it is a perfectly normal part of the cooling process. So we clip these on just to catch any little wayward pieces that might try to fly off. It's honestly been done for the benefit of one person in this room. Me. I'm standing right next to it. I don't know if any of you have ever had a shard of hot lava go down the back of your shirt before, but I can assure you from personal experience, it's not much fun. So that's why we do that. Right, we'll give you a little fun visual on the heat now. I've got paper towels here in my back pocket. I put one down in the hot section at the front there. Hot section, it's all hot, you know what I mean. But it ignites really rapidly. But even the cooler sections, I will point out that the word cool is relative. So here we go, I'll pop it where the ice was there, and you can see that just ignites right away.
Wow.
So let's get specific about things, a little bit more scientific. Now, that was a genuine lava lamp there, by the way. Yeah, boo. I told you I was a primary school teacher. Alright, so I've got my little infrared thermometer here. So I'm going to take a temperature reading on the surface where it's coolest, so where the ice was. Surface temperature there, 544 Celsius, that's 1012 Fahrenheit. But that is just on the surface. I'm going to try and crack through this crust, which isn't particularly difficult. Get into some of that material underneath that. Right, I've exposed that. And that's jumping up there to 741 Celsius, 1366 Fahrenheit. And actually, I don't know if you noticed that, it's actually still liquid there. I can actually still gouge liquid lava out of that.
Ooh.
Right, now, this is actually a really important point, because we do see a lot of people coming to Iceland and doing some fairly questionable things. There are whole Facebook groups dedicated to this. There's one called Stupid Things People Do in Iceland. Some of you might be on it. Some of you might end up on it before you leave. But one of the things that we see people doing all too often is going out walking on freshly cooled lava. And it is a bad idea for many reasons, but one is what I just showed you there. The lava might have formed a crust on the surface, fair enough. But remember I told you it's a great insulator. So you can actually have very hot or even molten material directly under that surface. And not only that, you could actually be walking above a lava tunnel and not know it. We find these all over the place. So they got some in the 2021 lava field from Fagradalsfjall, the last one in the video there. Scientists went down into these tunnels to explore them. They were getting temperatures down there well in excess of 400 Celsius 2 years after the eruption had ended.
Wow.
And not only that, as they were walking along, I love this bit, they could actually see daylight through cracks in the ceiling of the tunnel above them. So it doesn't take a genius to work out. You could be walking on that unstable surface, and then next thing you know, crack, down you go. And if you landed stuff like that, well, let's just say that's going to cut your holiday rather short. So that is why we would recommend that people just stay off the lava if they can possibly help it. Alright, so I'm going to tap the lava now in a few places here. I'm going to tap at the edges here. See, we've got a really nice sharp cracking noise there. If I go down here to the front section where I was flipping it earlier, you hear the difference. And then look, I'm into soft stuff. I can actually still kind of get my pole in there and kind of gouge it around. So the soft lava was absorbing the shock waves from the pole, I suppose giving you the dull sound. That's actually a handy trick, because scientists here have got a small problem on their hands. The magma chambers that supply these volcanic systems are really deep down, like 5 to 20 kilometers down in many cases. And we don't actually have instruments that can penetrate that far through the ground to detect exactly where they are, but we have in Iceland, we've got earthquakes in any number. And they can use the earthquake data to help them, because the shock waves from the earthquakes get soaked up and slowed down by the soft lava, but they'll travel more quickly through the solid rock around that. So by measuring the speed of the waves at the surface, from that they can actually extrapolate where the magma chambers are below, which I think is pretty smart. Alright, now, I'm going to actually turn the lights up a little bit so we can see things a bit better. It's getting kind of dark in here, so brace yourselves. See who's sleeping as well.
Whoa.
No judgment. Alright, so I'm going to begin breaking into this stuff a little bit. So I'm going to get under the flow here where I made that bridge. Just lift that up like so. Give this a couple of cracks and I'll show you what's going on in here. So here we are. There we have some medium rare lava there. Just the way I like it. Let's bring this around so you can all see. Anybody want a souvenir?
No.
Cash. No, we're not doing that. But you see that lovely kind of red-orange glow from the lava? You're only going to get that glow if the lava is still over 600 degrees Celsius. So once the temperature comes down below 600, it's not able to release that energy as light anymore. From that point onwards, it's just going to be released as heat. And it does lose the heat from the surface to the air really quickly. So that bit that I took out to show you, if I just lift that again, you see that's almost dimmed down entirely to black now.
Wow.
So that's just kind of hovering around the 600 mark. But if I were to break the block open, that inner part, yeah, there we are, I just did by accident. You can see that's still got the red glow.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
Right? And that's actually how you'll get lava tunnels forming. I'm just checking to see if we actually got one here. I don't think we did, it's a little too thin for that. I tried in vain, but I'll explain it anyway. So when you've got a flow of lava like this in nature, wider and deeper than we have here, just kind of scale up that medium rare piece and it gives you an idea of what I'm talking about. It forms that kind of insulating shell around the outside of it, but the lava inside is going to stay way hotter for way longer, and in fact can actually travel long distances inside its own insulation. It's only going to lose a single degree Celsius per kilometer that it travels when that's the case. Now what that means is if you've got lava rising up into a system like that, and somewhere further downstream there's an outlet for the lava to get out from, it could just flow in there like water in a pipe. And eventually then when the supply does get used up or solidifies, gravity can pull the remaining fluid stuff clean out of that tube, and then you're left with a hollow tunnel. So that's how you get lava tunnels forming. There's a few around that you can visit. There is one about 40 minutes outside of the city here. That one's called the lava tunnel. Imagine. But fascinating places to go because you're literally walking where a river of lava was flowing at one point. And you can see on the walls around you beautiful colours, because the iron in the lava is about 15% iron in basaltic lava like this. It oxidizes in contact with the air sometimes, and you get lovely reds and browns, sometimes yellows and greens in there as well. Really, really pretty. Definitely worth a visit if you get a chance. Now you'll have noticed when we brought the lights up there, the appearance of this lava. It's maybe not what you'd expect, because I told you it's basalt, and when you look at this, it doesn't really look an awful lot like the basalt columns, right? Or even just the bubbly lava rocks you see lying around outside. So why is this happening? Because this looks much more like glass. And the reason for that is, it's glass. Yes, it is a volcanic glass that's formed here. Now, the reason is, it's the rate of cooling. So when lava is cooling slowly, like it does in most cases in nature, because there's just so much of it, it's able to do what it really wants to do. What it wants to do is, as it cools, it wants to make a solid, and by doing so, by grabbing specific elements within the lava and making complicated crystalline bonds with those elements. However, if lava is cooling really, really quickly, it doesn't get the chance to do that. It has to make a solid as fast as it can. It goes into panic mode, basically. Grabs whatever it can find. The easiest thing to find is going to be the main ingredient of that lava. And the main ingredient of basaltic lava like this is silica at 47%. So almost half silica. And silica is what window glass is made of. So when it does this kind of bonding thing really quickly, the whole thing just ends up looking like glass. This particular type of volcanic glass does have a name. Some of you are probably going, haha, yes, I know that name. That is obsidian. I am here to tell you, no, it's not. Because we started with basalt, and you can't make obsidian out of basalt. It looks very, very, very like it. But actually what we have here is called tachylite. So that's the basaltic volcanic glass. Obsidian is actually made from a different rock called rhyolite. And the difference is actually the silica content. So basaltic lava, like I said, 47% silica. Sounds high, but that's actually the low end of the scale for lava. Rhyolitic lava, on the other hand, is between 65 and 90%, so way higher than this. And the silica in lava actually acts a bit like a thickening agent. It's like adding flour to a sauce or something. So when you get high silica lava, it's really thick and viscous. And what that means is in a volcanic system, when a volcano is about to erupt, if it's got rhyolitic lava, you get a huge pressure build-up in that lava, that thick lava. And when that pressure is eventually released, huge, powerful eruptions. We're talking the kind of things that you see around the Pacific Rim, right? So like Japan, Indonesia, New Zealand, even North America actually. Mount St. Helens was a good example of that, 1980. And then when you cool that lava, the high silica lava, down to get the glass form of it, it's actually way stronger than what we have here. So our tachylite here, if I just tap that now, you can see it just crumbles, falls apart. Whereas true obsidian, you can actually do useful things with that. You could shape it into blades, kill White Walkers with it, I don't know. But this stuff, although sharp, it's not very strong. That's kind of the key difference. And you can see that our pool now is actually looking quite innocent there on the surface. But I'm going to try getting under one edge of it here, lift that up for you.
Whoa.
And you'll see the underside of that
Still hot.
is still, it's glowing brightly, so that means it's comfortably over 600 degrees Celsius. Exactly. I'll see if I can get it from the front edge. It's a little hard with this stupid bar in the way. Yeah, I can't get it from there. I'll try from the other side here and see if we can get it up for the folks on this side. There we are.
Whoa.
Folks upstairs, you'll have to take my word for this. I'm not going to flip this thing for you. It's weighs twice as much as me. And in fact, a pool like this, this is a pretty massive pool. It's about 90 kilograms of lava right there. That is going to stay hot for a significant length of time. If I just left that as it is right now, to get down to room temperature, it would have to stay there for about 2 to 3 days.
Whoa.
Wow.
Yeah. So you can imagine with a real eruption, with the kind of quantities of lava you're talking there, you could be years in some cases, possibly hundreds of years. In fact, this stuff right now, I'm guessing I'm probably not going to be able to break it particularly well. There's a bubble there, so I kind of broke it where the bubble was. But it's very difficult to get in there. You can see that here. Maybe by the end of the show I might be able to get a more decent kind of split. It's actually still fairly molten in this section down here.
Yeah.
That bit broke. There we are. Alright, so we're getting towards the end of things here. So questions. Anybody got any questions? Folks upstairs, I will never see a hand if it's raised up there, so you can just yell at me if you've got a question upstairs. Downstairs, you can just raise a hand. Yeah, in the back here.
Prediction tools. How are the prediction tools?
Yeah, prediction tools. How are they here? So the monitoring here in Iceland is just next level. They're monitoring all the systems